Every civilization leaves a mark on history, but only a few reshape the world itself. Today's story begins beside a quiet river in ancient Italy and ends with an empire that ruled continents, commanded millions, and defined law, power, and governance for centuries. This is the story of the Roman Empire, how it rose, how it ruled, and how it fell. If you're drawn to stories that explain how history shaped the world we live in today, consider subscribing to the channel. And let me know in the comments which historical stories you'd like to hear next. Picture a small settlement rising along the bends of the Tiber River, its people farming, trading, and defending a few wooden huts perched on 7 hills. Within centuries, that settlement would command armies from the misty frontiers of Britain to the deserts of Syria, govern millions through law rather than force alone, and leave behind roads, cities, and institutions that still shape the modern world. The Roman Empire was not an accident of legend, but the result of disciplined organization, civic ambition, and relentless expansion, followed just as clearly by overreach and strain. This story begins in the 8th century BC, when Rome emerged as a modest kingdom, shaped by neighboring cultures and local struggles for survival. It grew into a republic defined by shared power, military obligation, and legal order, steadily extending its influence across Italy and then the Mediterranean. Under imperial rule, Rome reached its greatest territorial and administrative height, guided at times by capable leadership and effective governance. Yet the same systems that built its strength gradually weakened under pressure from economic imbalance, political instability, and external assaults. By AD 476, the Western Roman Empire came to an end, not through a single moment of defeat, but through a long process of erosion. This is the rise and fall of Rome, an enduring lesson in how civilizations are built, sustained, and ultimately undone. Rome began around 753 BC as a small kingdom along the Tiber River, governed by kings whose authority was limited by tradition and local needs. As the city grew, resentment toward absolute rule intensified. In 509 BC, the last king was removed for abusing his power, and Rome replaced monarchy with a republic designed to prevent any single ruler from dominating the state. The Roman Republic divided power among elected magistrates, a senate of elite families, and citizen assemblies. Military service became a civic duty, and Rome's disciplined legions proved highly effective. Through conquest and carefully managed alliances, Rome expanded across central Italy, turning former rivals into partners and securing a steady supply of soldiers and resources. Rome's rise beyond Italy was shaped by the Punic Wars against Carthage between 264 and 146 BC. In the First War, Rome built a navy and gained Sicily, its first overseas territory. The Second War brought Rome to the edge of defeat when an enemy army crossed the Alps and inflicted devastating losses, including the Battle of 216 BC. Rome endured, adjusted its strategy, and won a decisive victory in 22 BC. The final war ended with Carthage destroyed, leaving Rome dominant across the Mediterranean. Expansion brought wealth, but also deep inequality. Large estates replaced small farms, and social tension grew. Attempts at reform led to political violence, weakening long-standing institutions. By the 1st century BC, powerful generals and competing alliances drove Rome into repeated civil wars. One commander openly challenged the Senate by marching on Rome and later seized control, only to be killed in 44 BC. Stability came only after further conflict. A final victory in 31 BC ended the civil wars, and in 27 BC, the winner assumed supreme authority while preserving republican traditions in name. With that shift, the Roman Republic gave way to the Roman Empire. With the establishment of imperial rule in 27 BC, Rome entered a period of stability after decades of civil war. The first emperor reorganized the army into a permanent professional force loyal to the state rather than individual generals. Borders were secured with forts and frontier defenses, while extensive building programs, roads, aqueducts, forums, and temples stimulated the economy and reinforced loyalty across the empire. Territorial expansion continued. Egypt was brought under Roman control, providing a vital grain supply for the capital's massive population. Roman armies pushed deeper into Gaul, advanced eastward to the Euphrates River, and extended imperial reach to Britain in AD 43. Control of these regions tied the Mediterranean world together under a single administration. Rome's high point came between AD 96 and 180, during a succession of capable rulers who governed through adoption rather than bloodline. One of them expanded the empire to its greatest size through campaigns in Dacia and the Near East, briefly reaching the Persian Gulf. His successor shifted focus from expansion to defense, reinforcing borders and constructing permanent barriers, including a wall across northern Britain, while strengthening provincial governance. This era saw strong economic growth. Trade moved efficiently along Roman roads and sea routes, exporting wine and olive oil and importing luxury goods from distant markets. Cities flourished with public baths, theaters, and arenas, creating a shared urban culture across vast distances. The military remained highly effective, combining discipline, engineering skill, and auxiliary forces drawn from conquered peoples. By AD 180, the Roman Empire governed more than a fifth of the world's population. Latin unified administration and law, and Roman legal principles became a lasting foundation for governance long after the empire itself reached its limits. Several emperors left decisive marks on Rome's direction, for better or worse. Early in imperial history, the fifth ruler of the Julio-Claudian line began with promises of reform, but later ruled through fear. He ordered the deaths of rivals and family members and, after the Great Fire of Rome in AD 64, punished marginalized groups to deflect blame, deepening mistrust between ruler and people. During the 3rd century crisis, a later emperor ruling from AD 270 to 275 restored unity after the empire fractured into competing regions. Through swift military campaigns, he defeated breakaway states in the west and east, earning recognition as the restorer of imperial order. Another major reformer, ruling from AD 284 to 305, attempted to solve Rome's size problem by dividing authority among 4 co-emperors in a system known as the Tetrarchy. He expanded the bureaucracy, strengthened the army, and imposed tighter control over society. While effective in the short term, the system collapsed after his retirement, triggering new rounds of civil war. A turning point came under an emperor who ruled from AD 306 to 337. After securing sole power, he issued an edict in AD 313, allowing freedom of worship for Christians, ending decades of persecution. He also founded a new capital at Constantinople, strategically positioned for defense and trade, signaling a lasting shift of power toward the eastern provinces. By the late 5th century, the Western Roman Empire had collapsed under the combined weight of internal division and external pressure, while the Eastern Empire endured in a new form. Rome's legacy, however, did not vanish. Its laws shaped legal systems, its language influenced entire cultures, and its roads, cities, and institutions laid foundations still visible today. The rise and fall of Rome stands as a lasting reminder that power is built on strong systems and lost when those systems can no longer hold.